Tonight, our attention is on the 12 women and men who began deliberating the fate of the 3 white men charged with murdering Ahmaud Arbery. We've got 1 trial and 3 defendants, all of whom played a different role on February 23rd of last year, but all are accused of contributing to Ahmaud's death. And now the jury has to decide on guilt or innocence for each defendant on each count. My experts are still here, attorneys Paul Henderson, CK Hoffler, and jury consultant Robert Swafford. All right, Robert, jury deliberations are somewhat of a mystery. There's no one way of doing them, but take us into that deliberation room. Take us there, please. How does one typically go, especially in a case of this magnitude?
Well, so the first thing is that, you and I are likely to never make it onto an actual jury. And so the way we know how juries go is through watching focus groups. And so a focus group is where, in preparing for a trial, you recruit a group of people to match the demographics of a county. And then once you do that, you present the case, and then you watch them either through a one-way mirror or through a closed-circuit television. And the first thing that you notice when you watch a focus group, and we know that these reflect how actual jury deliberations go, is you notice that the 12 people did not see the same trial. And what I mean by that is some people will say, well, these were the facts, or this is the law, or this is what happened, and other people will have seen or interpreted things entirely differently. And so what happens during that process is you see who stands tight, who stands strong, who is powerful, who will give in at the end of the day. And so the most important thing to note is not just like who's there, but who is going to carry the day. Who are the leaders in the room? Who's the foreperson? Who's the person who's going to be the foreperson's antagonist?
Look, we know juries, speaking of the timeline of this deliberations, we know juries don't like working over the weekend, much less the holiday, which is coming up on Thursday. So it wasn't surprising when there was some indication given to the court that the jury was close to reaching a verdict when they insisted on working through the late evening. Is there pressure, CK, on this jury to get a verdict, and is it unfair to the defense?
I think there is pressure on this jury. I mean, without a doubt, the world is watching this case. The world is singularly focused on these 12 individuals who they are hoping will reach a decision that reflects justice, one way or the other, depending upon how you define justice. So whenever there's a holiday, whenever jurors are deliberating around a holiday, they usually want to accelerate because they don't want to have to come back after the holiday. So that creates an additional level of pressure. Does it create a disadvantage for the defense? I don't think so. I agree with our jury consultant here. I believe that people have already made up their minds, some would say, after openings. So at this point, I think what they are doing is trying to reach a consensus. They may have some holdouts. They're negotiating with those holdouts. And I think that they want to have a great Thanksgiving and not have to think about this case. Because think about it. The more they have to think about this case, they're probably talking to their family members about the case. We have to face reality. And so that's not a good thing. So a quick verdict before Thanksgiving would be the best case scenario for all parties involved, in my impression.
Now, the issue of race, Paul, has been front and center from the start of this trial, starting with the racial makeup of the jury, to the dog whistling by the defense during the trial, to the public figure sitting in the gallery and standing out in front of the courthouse. The jury should only, we know this, should only be focused on the facts and the evidence that was presented during trial. But how does race not enter the discussion during deliberations? And if so, what does that look like when you only have one black juror?
Well, I think it's just a common sense analysis. I mean, I think that you can look at this same situation, and here's an example. Let's take race out of the equation and let's make it a gender issue. What do you think the scenario would be for a woman jogging through a neighborhood who is chased down by 3 men in a truck trying to talk to her, who tries to get away, is confronted 5 times and then shot? I mean, you can shift your analysis and take it out of the person and come to the same result. But behavior that is criminal is wrong. And that's exactly what this is. I think you have to have a conversation about race, even if you didn't want to approach race, just because of how the defense attorneys have introduced race so recklessly, so irresponsibly, and in such a racist presentation that there's no avoiding it. And quite frankly, I'm not afraid to talk about race, and I think that the criminal justice system will be better once we're able to talk about race, especially in the context of the criminal justice system. We can't fix the race disparities that we're not talking about. And so that's the first step. And I think that it's likely that there will be a conversation about race, but in this case, you can come to a conclusion of guilt without contemplating or dwelling too heavily on the race issue, because this behavior, which was all recorded on video, is so clear, so offensive, and so wrong that Stevie Wonder could see that these men need to be in prison for a long time. That's my thought.
So this morning, the judge moved the jury to an interior courtroom so they wouldn't hear the noise coming from those that were gathered outside the courthouse. Does that add even more pressure to this jury to vote a certain way? Robert?
So, you know, in any high-profile case, you're going to have people who are going to seek the limelight, and people are going to be trying to stay away from the limelight. So I don't know that, you know, the people who have their confirmation bias, who feel justified in their position, you know, in either direction, I don't think at the end of the day, I think that they're going to actually, they would probably react against that if you have the wrong kind of confirmation bias back there. But one thing I do want to address the race issue, and that one of the things that is good to have at least one Black juror back in the room is I think it limits people's comfort of saying outwardly racist things and making outwardly racist arguments back in the jury room. And with regard to the prosecutor wasn't blatant about how she addressed it. But the thing that she did say is she would just use the facts and subtly talk about it. She would say, 911, what is your emergency? And the answer was, a Black man is running down the street. And she repeated that more than once. And I think that was a very subtle and effective way of bringing race into it.